how relevant it is to my work, and yet it yeah, exactly. It just there was an overwhelming sense of that interconnectedness, and of that that it was the sense that it was eternal, like from beginning, like, that there was no end, that it was so vast, and as a result, I felt containerless.
Wow.
And that being said, it was a felt experience, right? A sensory type of experience, rather than, I don't know how to put words around it. And so it was overwhelming, but not in an anxious way, but definitely in a, yeah, no, you can't handle this kind of way. And then last night, interestingly enough, ran into a black bear. Stephen and I went for a walk, and we ran into a big black bear, so we didn't make it very, very far in our walk. And then Charlene sent me a message this morning, and she ran into a big black bear. Like, what the heck?
Are you kidding?
No, I'm like, oh my gosh. She left me this message, and I'm like, I got your message. That's a great idea. But I just want to hone on in the fact that you just saw a black bear. Like, you're not going to believe it.
Wow.
So that was wild.
So when you said, hi, Muttley, I know, come here. Come here. I know. When you said, you can't handle this much love or whatever, my brain went to, oh, what if you can?
Mm.
And what is required to feel that much love?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think, so I was reading your stuff, and to me, it's all the same work. Your work is about the gap, right? It's the gap from no do be. And what you just said is the gap. Now, it would need to be distilled into a governmental language, and non-spiritual context, but it doesn't have to, they don't have to know the context of spirituality to know what the gap is.
Yeah, because the context of spirituality that's where my work lives, right? Like that's where it lives. It manifests itself in its garden variety way of showing up, but it's very spiritual and intuitive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the gap is it is, the gap is getting between, it's getting back to that clarity, curiosity, and courage.
Yes.
Closing the gap on that. And interestingly enough, like, my phone's been ringing off the hook, and so unpacking's been a bit of a challenge, but the phone's been ringing off the hook with regards to sort of what's going on with different governing bodies and projects that are available. But everything kind of comes back to the clarity deficit, the curiosity deficit, and the courage deficit, over and over again.
I'm just typing as we're talking. Let me know, can you hear my typing, and is it annoying?
I can hear it, but it's not annoying.
Okay. So so this isn't annoying. This doesn't take you out?
No.
Okay.
No.
I'm typing notes as we go.
Right. Yeah.
That's all I'm doing.
Yeah.
Because like, I think about you sitting under the moon, and there you were in a clarity deficit, a courage deficit, and really no deficit of curiosity, but maybe a confidence in that curiosity, maybe. So until you finally said, "Hey, do you love me?" You finally stood in the gap and put words on it.
Mm-hmm.
You love me. So you were curious, you were clear, and you were courageous
Mm-hmm.
in that question.
Mm-hmm.
And then the answer came back.
And like I said, in a containerless way, because it felt so vast.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a long time to ground. And interestingly enough, I'm going to say that it actually, I didn't start grounding until early evening. I had a phone conversation with like a meeting, an asset management meeting, and it took me that long to kind of start landing, probably until 5 o'clock Mountain Time, to really start landing and get pulled back together into a container.
I'm not sure what you're working on with Chris, but can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Because you and Chris, I suspect, because he's a Reiki master, right? He works in energy. I highly recommend working with him around how to work with your instrument, like how you're made, because you do receive energy. You like it's just it took you that long to ground because you were that open, and then right, so it's like he knows how to work with his instrument, and he would be a great mentor for you that way, or potentially maybe start studying Reiki and how to work with energy. So yeah, I mean, there's all the clearing stuff and all of that, but I think the bigger gift he can have for you moving forward is how do you work with you?
Yeah, and actually that's interesting that you say that, because I was thinking about that on my run this morning. Because so when I went to the meditation class, again, I'm breathing peace and before I went in, how can I be of the highest service? And when I walked in, people were giving me hugs, and it wasn't that I was feeling and they were people I didn't know really well, but I just felt a sense that they just wanted a hug. And it's not that I felt an energy drain, but there's so much vulnerability in all that, particularly with people that it's different when you're hugging somebody and you've got a reciprocal type of energy flow, right? Yeah. And there's something different when just a hug where someone's absorbing your energy. And I didn't feel it as an energy drain, but like I said, I did feel very vulnerable. And then coming home, going to bed, falling asleep, and then waking up a half an hour later and going and sitting, like I said, underneath the moon, sitting in my living room, just staring at the moon and just having some really deep conversations with God about life, and then waking up the next morning, like I said, and listening to your podcast and listening to that conversation, and all, like, just again, so many things were going on. It was my son's 33rd birthday. So thinking about just like how much I loved him, how much I loved the people in my life, how much I like the just the outpouring of love. It wasn't draining, but it was so big and vast and expansive that I was like, oh, this is how you're telling me that you love me. that it was like, yeah.
Okay, can I say a radical thing?
Yeah.
Okay. So your book on the gap. So as I was doing all your reading, all of your stuff, great. You're a great writer. All the stuff that I think you know, but you're a great writer. You're succinct and clear and everything. And the piece that's missing in your writing is not, again, it's not about your skill, it's not about any or your knowledge or anything, but you're not giving us any answers. You're giving us lots of here's what we know, or you're giving us here's what I know that you're refusing to see, or you're giving us here's the truth that everybody wants to ignore, but you're not giving us any answers. And it's possible because those answers are arriving right now. So here's my radical thought. There's the words that you've used today about your own instrument, like I didn't start grounding until early evening. Your practice of how can I be of the highest service, your acknowledgement of love. And when I think about government, people only go into government because they love. So like your gap around clarity around clarity, courage, and curiosity is a process. Like there's a process of using of how to get clear, how to be courageous, and why we're curious and how to be curious. And I think it's all of this stuff, but like love, like if I looked in, if in your practice that you were teaching in your like your philosophy, you're basically taking spiritual philosophy and sticking it into governmental practice. That's my radical suggestion. Like how does a government, how do they ground? When they start a meeting, or when they say yes to their appointment or whatever it's called, what does it mean for them to be of highest service? And what is how do they operate from a place of love? And again, I know that these are like woo-woo talk, but you have such an innate knowing of them, and you've done all the leadership training, and you've been a politician, therefore you know the language. Like you're going to make all this stuff safe. It's not going to sound woo-woo at all, but I think, honey, you got to take them right into these universal life force principles. And I'm sure there's more. We just named 3, right? Grounding, love, and highest service. The other thing I noticed in your writing, and I want you to stop saying it. You said you are a recovering politician. Okay. You're not allowed to say that anymore.
Okay.
Because you actually love politics. And
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even though I get it, I know where you're going. Yeah. And I want you to risk, Christina, I want you to risk not being relatable. Because I think that's what's holding you back. I get it. You want to be relatable. You want to say, I get you. I get where you are. I know your pain. And I want you to risk being unrelatable because you are that optimistic. Because you are that, like, you can't take this much love. And you're like, you know what? I can take this much love. And everybody in this room can take all the love I've got for this world and on these politics. And I'm going to show you that you can do this. Be the love.
Yeah, interesting how that comes back to soul, hey?
Yeah. Yeah. This is your ministry.
Yeah. And interesting, when I look back at my notes from my session with Chris, it is about, you know, the notes that I captured were around artistry, mastery, and legacy.
Woo! Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. I can put those pieces together, but I'm curious what has come up for you.
Well, that, I guess that comes back to the risk that you were talking about. Risk bringing artistry into, bringing lateral thinking into a very linear world, right? Being bringing the complex soup of and or the ingredients to make, you know, to make a to make something tasty, and then being able to find ways to master it, right? So if I think about the, I don't know why I'm going off on the food analogy, but you know, it's mastering the ingredient, or mastering the right level of ingredients, so that you're leaving like a good taste in people's mouth, so that they're nourished by the experience and can do better, now have what it takes to do better, be better, right?
Is your book called Do Better?
Do better. Well, and this is, you know, this comes up for me a lot in my work. It's like, well, we can do better than this. We can do government better, right? Yesterday, just on a side note, so when I came alive last night, I was on this Asset Management BC call, and we were talking about a funding program that we're applying for, and I was like, I said, I do not want to just apply for funding so that we can go and deliver training. I said, I want to be on every council agenda across this province. And I said, you give me 10 minutes and I will make them and ask them enough questions that they will be so uncomfortable that they'll understand where they need more information. Right? I said, that's what I want. I said, and so they were like, yep, okay, that's the funding we're gonna, you know, we're gonna apply for. I said, the last thing I want to do is to provide asset management training for folks that, you know, so that we can convert the converted. No. So it's quite that, like I said, that's when I came alive. I was like, we're going to make people really uncomfortable.
I want 10 minutes on every agenda across this country. Okay, so your job is, I need to know what those questions are.
Okay.
We're going to make them really uncomfortable. I want your top, it's your assignment. I want your top 10 and make the 5 really hot, like 5 super top 5, but your top 10 uncomfortable questions for government to be better, for local government.
Okay.
Okay, which means, honey, if you're not uncomfortable, then you're not risking anything.
Right.
You need your top 5. You need to be like, oh my God, can I say that out loud? Oh my God, what are people going to think when I say this? If you don't feel that, you haven't found it.
Okay. That's good. That's a good reminder. Yeah.
Okay. So let me give you those 3 words, what I think those 3 words mean. Because Chris is talking about your soul's design, like what it's designed for. You know, you were made as something for something. So there's your 4, what you're made for: artistry, mastery, and legacy. Right?
Yeah.
So your artistry, I think, really is the compelling way that you get know you, like you, trust you. It's the compelling way that you're going to talk about stuff that's going to blow their minds and go, what? No. It's the lateral thing. It's the lateral thinking in a linear world. That's your artistry. It's yes, there's the performance piece of it, you know, it's your artistry of how you own the room. It's your artistry of how you sing. It's the artistry of, you know, it's all of that, but it's also the energetic space that you're willing to create in a room so that people will listen.
Right. Yeah.
Or the energetic space that you create in your book when people open it, that they're willing to listen. So that's your artistry. I want you to think, as you accept these 3 words for you and as your 4, made as 4, that I want you to think about, I want you to choose, you know, your favorite artist in different genres. So like, and if you don't know, then then you get to go play and discover, like, who's your favorite painter and why? What is it about their paintings that you love so much? And what does it evoke in you? All of that stuff. Who is your favorite filmmaker and why? What do those movies do to you? Right? Who's your favorite musician? And maybe you've got a couple of them. It's not like you have to have only one. It's not about getting it right. You might have a collection of them. Who are your favorites, you know, musicians and why? And start to notice how they're all the same. Like, what's the same about all of them? And know that you can only see in others that which you have in yourself.
Yeah.
So that's your artistry. The very thing that you see in other artists is the artist that you are.
Yeah. It's interesting because if I had to answer those questions, my favorite painter, my favorite author, my favorite musician, filmmaker, all of them are people who are able to invoke emotions that are almost buried, like they're so rich and deep that they actually are almost too big for a container, like too much, too big, too rich, too, like, that it invokes an awe, like, yeah.
So watch them, like, notice, how do they keep it safe? What's the container that you notice that they use so that it doesn't get so much? How do they do it? How do they invoke awe?
Yeah. How do they bring back the resolve, right? Yeah.
Right. So that's a great way to discover your artistry.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's about how you are in the room, how people feel when they're with you, why they know you, like you, trust you. That's your artistry.
Yeah.
Why they come back to you. Now your mastery is that gap. It is the curiosity, clarity, and courage. That's your mastery. Is the message of, like, you just keep coming back to clarity, courage, curiosity, which is that's all gap management right there. right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What do you do in the gap to get from one side to the next? You get clear, you get courageous, and you get curious. So you're all the ways.
Right. That takes you, that closes the gap. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the stuff, like in your writing right now, you're showing us why you need those things, but you're not showing us how to use those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay.
Right? So it's like, even if we're asking questions because we're curious, if we come to the table with a curious heart and we're asking questions, nobody fucking knows what to do when we ask real questions
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
real answers arrive. So there is also taking responsibility, not just for the beginning of curiosity, clarity, and courage, but what happens when curiosity, courage, and clarity show up in the room.
Yeah.
Because that's the reason why they won't do it. I'm not sure if I just lost. Oh, there you are. Okay. And just FYI, because my computer's been crashing lately. I have a Mac, but whenever I'm on Zoom, not whenever, but lots of times that I'm on Zoom, it'll just like crash. If that happens, just stay on and I'll come back. That's what happens.
Okay. Okay.
So that's your mastery. It's those 3 words.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that it's those 3 words, and they might evolve, but those are principles. And I know that it's those 3 words because mastery is never how to fix a Porsche,
Mm-hmm.
like, or how to fix a Chrysler. It's the guy loves cars or the woman loves cars, right? Like, they are masters at engines.
Yeah.
Right? And so those 3 words can be applied in any gap situation, whether it's municipal or family or whatever. It's that mastery is not, specific to one. You might be like the best in the world at government, but the mastery itself is the stuff that you do in it.
Right. It's the love glue that holds it all together, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so and I think that our work together of your book is writing into curiosity, courage, and clarity, because your mastery, you're actually dialing into what God wants you to tell the world about curiosity, courage, and clarity. Not what the books tell you or what leadership tells you. It's, okay, this is what God wants you to tell people, matched with, you're in co-creation with God here, because you're all of your training and all of that stuff is how you interpret the message. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And this is all connected to We Can Do Better, right? Like,
yeah.
Okay. And that's your legacy. Your legacy is better, do better. And the cool thing about legacy is that I only like, I'm designed to work with the shepherds of the shepherds, like to shepherd the shepherds. So you must be shepherding a new way of doing things.
Yeah.
Or I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Come here.
Yeah.
So like after you've given those 10 minutes, you've just changed them forever.
Yeah.
That's legacy. And that's, are you willing to do that? Are you willing to change people forever?
Yeah.
That's powerhouse shit right there. That's Shar language, right? Like, not messing around.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, where are you?
So I wouldn't mind having this recording sooner rather than later.
Okay, I'll send it to you as soon as we hang up. I'll give it to you.
That sounds great. What now? Yeah, okay. because I've got some notes today. I see the linkages. What's happening sometimes is that, again, when I get into my head, when I get too much into the overthinking, then I lose the plot, and the plot lives here.
And the plot lives here.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And so it's making sure that I'm connected to that plot. That's absolutely key.
Yeah. So. How are you? So post Powerhouse, you know, what has integrated for you from that experience?
I would say mainly the very fact that the whole lighten up, like let go of what's not serving you, lighten up. And that has been kind of hanging on me. This does not have to be, doesn't mean it's not work, but it doesn't have to be such a struggle. And in particular, some of the things I think that have come out of there is really gaining some of my own clarity, and coming back to, what do I feel like? How do I feel like my best self? Like, when do I feel like my best self? And what are, and right now, my key words that I've got sort of that I'm kind of focusing on are, and I wrote them down actually in the workshop that you led. One of them was like being a warrior, and that language just really stood out for me, like being a warrior and being tenacious in the work that I do, and pushing the envelope and being willing to get uncomfortable with my clients. And so I love the questions, your top questions better make you uncomfortable as well. It was so interesting because I was talking to a CAO the other day about, and we were I'm coming back to do his strategic plan, and I was asking him a bunch of questions. He said, your message is not, it's not popular. And I said, I know. I said, and that's why it's important. And I said to him after, I said, the next, I said, that's how I'm going to start my next Municipal World article. And like, it's perfect.
Wow.
Right?
Your message is not popular. So which message is he saying is not popular?
Well, because so I was looking over their strategic plan, and one of the things that the council's uncomfortable with, they were like, well, we want to do the reason he said that is he's got one councillor that wants to look into housing initiatives, and so I said, so how many kilometers of roads are you responsible for? What's the equipment that you need to be able to provide the level of service that you've defined? Do you have condition assessments done on them? Do you have, do you know how much life is left? And do you have a strategy to replace them when they fall apart? And what are you currently putting into your road reserve, and what should you be putting in, and what's the gap, right? So, and he's like, I know, but they don't get it. And I said, well, I want you to answer these questions so that I can tell them, here's the gap. Once you close this gap, then you can deal with extraneous activities. But until you've closed that gap on your core services, you can't pursue these rabbit holes.
So the unpopular is you're bringing a whole bunch of truth to the surface.
Yeah.
And okay, so, okay, ready? Here's your mastery again. Remember how I said, or your artistry, sorry, this is your artistry.
Okay.
What you just gave is all linear. there's actually nowhere for anyone to go to hide, which is great. But there's also nowhere for anyone to go and feel loved.
Right.
There's nowhere for anyone to go and feel courageous. What you just gave was clarity.
Yeah. Yeah.
But without courage, no one's going to get clear.
Yeah.
And courage is reconnecting them to their place of love, of their work, love of their town, love of each other, the deep honor that they have this daunting task.
Yeah.
And that Christina is that's your pilot light. Like without the pilot light lit, your hot water tank doesn't heat up.
Yeah.
There's water coming out of the tap, but it's not hot.
Yeah.
That's your assignment. That to me, that's your gap piece, is figuring out how to talk about love with your people.
Yeah.
Because it's okay. What you want is you want to be popularly unpopular. You want to be popularly, you want to be lovingly like unpopular. You want to like smack them upside the head and then tickle them till they're laughing till they pee later, you know? That's a really interesting insight to have. Figuring out how to talk about love in government. Wow.
Yeah. Well, you know, interestingly enough, in the conversation yesterday that I was having with Asset Management BC, is I said, we care for things that we love, right? And so we care for our shoes if we love them, if they make us feel really good, right? And so, to be quite honest, what I'd like to see is kind of almost like a province-wide or national-wide, like, I love water, I love sewer, I love roads, I love my community center, I love trails, I love that I get to, that I get to meet in public spaces that are pretty and attractive, right? And that's reframing the linear into the lateral, right? Yeah. So what's their condition? What is, if you love these things, why are you not investing in them? If I love shoes, if I love my hair, I invest in it. If I love my skin, I invest in it. I love my health, I invest in it. So if I love my water, I invest in it. Like, so, and I mean, again, I realize that this is the linear portion. The infrastructure report just came out. It is like the national infrastructure report. Things are getting worse, not better. We're not making better decisions. So we can't keep on the same trajectory. And so when we collectively love what we have, we will protect it, just like the climate, just like our water aquifers, right? Just like our transportation networks. We will protect what we love. And I've assigned you as a politician to protect what I love. Oh, actually, I really like that.
Yeah. That's your opening statement. Or it's not your opening statement. That's your bridge. That's your, like, from Act 1 to Act 2 in your talks, right?
Yeah.
Or it's I think it's, like, holy shit, we will protect what we love. And I've assigned you as a politician to protect what I love. Wow. The other thing you just said is, the change from linear to lateral happens through love.
Yeah.
Linear to lateral equals love.
There's the bridge. Yeah.
That's the bridge from linear to lateral.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're the love doctor for municipal government.
The gov love doctor.
The gov love. Oh my gosh. But that's your secret ingredient.
Yeah.
At least under the courage category, right? Like each of these 3 words needs its ingredient.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure where you're in conversation with Shar, but in my talk with her, she identified her departments or whatever they're called of leadership, right? And that government was one of them, right? And so to me, when I think about you as the expert on government in Powerhouse, so that when people start the leader path through her and the leader that they're becoming is a leader in government, what you're actually teaching is the pillar of love.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. And by love, it's curiosity, courage, and clarity. And it's exactly what you just said, that we protect what we love.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
All right, let's pull it together logistically.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
you want a date, that date is fine.
So that date is good?
Yeah.
With Chris and everything? Okay.
I'm waiting to hear back from one other person, Kelly Garrett. But
okay.
In terms of, but everybody wants that same weekend. So I'm hoping, I'm just going to say, Kelly, everybody's on board for this weekend. So,
okay.
So I have penciled into my calendar 29, 30, 31, and 1, right? And the 1st of January. I think that's what Shar wanted, right?
Of February. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's happening in that weekend is I'm hoping that you'll participate. I'm doing my story from the core people are actually going to be giving a talk.
Okay.
On island, and I would love for you to also give a talk.
Awesome.
I think that would be great.
Okay.
The story from the core people are going to be working with Chris to do some energetic, like working with who they are energetically, so that they step on stage in that energy.
Yeah.
I can check with him if that's something that you wanted to do. I can check with him and see if that works as well. And if that's not something you wanted to do, was that also time that you wanted to do your own writing retreat, like in that same time?
Well, that's kind of what I was thinking, is that if we could work that into that time, that way I'm down there, right?
Yeah, I think we can. I've got to figure out.
Give it some thought, and and let me know.
I think we can, because it's all essentially within the same work. Let me sit with it, but I think we probably can. It'll take on a different feel. Like it won't feel like it did with you and me and Shar.
Yeah.
But essentially it's the same thing. So let me sit with it and see if I can figure that out. Now, the other piece was that Shar wanted to do some Powerhouse stuff at the same time.
Yes. So strategic planning. Right.
Maybe the day before, like the Wednesday strategic planning. Okay.
So you and I and Shar are going to be leading them through strategic planning process.
Right. We're going to be leading who through the strategic planning?
The Powerhouse team.
Oh, the whole Powerhouse team. Are they all coming to Bowen?
No. So that would be over in Gibson. So Wendy and Dana. Yeah.
So we go to Gibson's on the 29th, and then we would do story from the core 30, 31, 1, and that would also be your writing retreat. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's totally doable.
Well, and the other thing that we could do is that we could do story from the core and then writing retreat after that, like during the week, if that's.
Oh my God, could you do that?
Yeah.
That kind of time? Let's do
Yeah, I
that.
was thinking, yeah, that's what I was thinking. That way we're not
Way better.
interfering, yeah, with,
Yeah. Oh, let's totally do that. So
okay.
that we have strategic on the 29th, story from the core. And I think I'll go back, but I think story from the core was going to be Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but I don't remember. I'll double check. So if we did Sunday, Monday, Tuesday,
Yeah.
does that work? Or
Yeah.
maybe book until Wednesday and then we know we've got everything covered.
Yeah, let's do that. Okay.
Okay. Oh, that's awesome.
Okay.
Okay. Super. So what that means is, though, too, for story from the core, is I want you to give a keynote.
Okay.
I want you to give a talk, because everyone's
Right.
going to be giving a so it was the idea is that each person would give a 30 to 40 minute talk. So is that too long? That's too long, isn't it? 4 40-minute talks, that's too long. But 4 30-minute talks is okay.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So it'll be 4 30-minute talks with an intermission in the middle. Yeah. I would love for you to do one.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So 30 minutes, and my first impulse is to think is really of, leading from the heart, right?
Yeah.
Leading your life from your heart and from your soul and from your intuition, regardless of your role.
In government?
Regardless of your, because there's going to be a variety. I'll talk about it in government, but there'll be a variety of people there, right?
Yeah, no, I want you to talk about what your book's about.
Okay.
Go, this is your place to play.
Okay.
Great place to cut your teeth on it.
Yeah. Okay.
And because this is a highly politically active island.
Ooh, okay.
Oh my God, the stuff, in fact, I thought, oh my God, Christina needs to be here right now, because our fire department basically threatened our volunteer fire department, all 30 firemen threatened to walk off the job if they didn't fire the new fire chief. And everyone's yelling at the mayor, like it's the mayor's responsibility. And it's just gotten so fucking ugly. And I'm just like, wow, you guys. I'm like, oh, and even somebody pointing out, apparently Gary, and God bless him, Gary's the mayor. He's not a politician. He's just a dude, right? He's just a guy, and who cares for his community. And somebody said, "What are you going to do, Gary?" or something from the house. And he shrugged. And so it's like now everyone's pointing at the mayor who shrugged, leadership, that's leadership for you. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't do this. This is nobody's acting out of love in this room. If anybody acted out of love, they would fucking protect what's going on, and they wouldn't hide. If we're acting out of love, there would be no hiding.
Yeah.
That's good too. When you actually love something, you don't hide.
No, exactly. You protect what you love. You don't hide. You tell the truth.
You tell the truth. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
So that's that. I will send you this recording now.
That sounds good.
Now. And I've got you booked in from January 29th all the way to February 5th. We'll figure out what the actual timing is, but that's what I've got.
All right, that sounds good.
My assignments for you is this whole love piece, and your 10 risky questions. And your 10 risky questions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The next time we talk, one of the things I really want to get done with you is I want to get your skeleton of your book, even if it's just a first draft of the sections, so that I can start assigning you writing prompts to just start the collecting process, knowing that it's going to be all over the place and it's not going to fit all of it, but just to get the writing coming in on this. But maybe that's our next call.
So you read kind of what I wrote for for Municipal World, like the first of the 3-part series. Okay.
Yeah. And the one that I loved the most, let me just see.
Mm.
Which one did I love the most? I loved, it was one of the further ones. Where did it go? Collecting files. Here it is. Oh, it was actually the last one. It was the SC article on differentiated leadership.
Oh, oh, that's so funny.
Why? Tell me what your hit on that is.
Well, I mean, I loved that article. That the concept of differentiated leadership had a huge impact on me while I was mayor.
Right.
When I better understood what differentiated leadership was. And really, to me, that boils down to courage, right? Like having the courage to, stay in the room when things get difficult and be willing to still do the right thing, but hold space for what is hard, right? And say, this is hard. Like, and I think I told this story in Regina, when I had my council chambers full, and I was like, you know what, this is, we're the kind of community that listens to people when they do a presentation, and we don't boo. We support people. We may not like their message, but we're going to sit and listen, because this is, it was calling people to a higher self in their experience. And so, but the differentiated leadership, that was one of the articles I wrote, and there's different versions of it, but that I wrote for my master's program.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah.
I loved it. Okay, I have to run to another call. That was my favorite, and probably because it was complex.
Right.
Probably because you did give us some solutions, some hows in there.
Okay. Well, that's good to know. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. All right.
Love you.
Talk to you soon. Love you too.
Honey.